Imagine that everything you see around you right now is not scenery and not a chain of random coincidences, but an accurate report of the inner state you've been broadcasting into the world for years. The space you live in, the people beside you, the condition of your body, the amount in your bank account, even those accidental encounters after which life suddenly changed direction. None of these are just events. They are reflections, and they reveal not what you want, but who you are on the inside, in your most honest thoughts and feelings when no one is watching. Most people never dare to look at their life from this angle. It's much easier to say, that's just how it happened. It's more convenient to blame the government, the economy, parents, fate, karma, or a streak of bad luck. It's simpler to live with the feeling that reality is a movie filmed by someone else and you're merely forced to watch it until the end. That's why most people will close this video within the first minutes. The idea that you participate in creating your own reality hurts more at first than the idea of an unfair world. As long as you can believe that life simply treated you this way, you don't have to change anything. But if somewhere inside you there is a quiet, persistent sense that you are meant for more than what you see around you, then this video didn't appear in your life by accident. If you're tired of repeating the same scenarios, if you've caught yourself thinking life can't just be a series of blows and coincidences, then it means you're ready to hear about the laws by which this reality is formed. Look honestly at your ordinary day. You wake up and immediately collide with a world that seems to press down on you. Notifications, news, other people's expectations, bills, obligations. Your body remembers the familiar fatigue even before you get out of bed. Your mind automatically launches old programs. This again, him again, me again. And each of these thoughts is not just commentary, it's a brick reinforcing the reality you live in. You react to the world and trust these reactions more than your own intentions. How many years have you been telling yourself you want freedom, yet living every day like someone who doesn't have it? How many years have you dreamed of abundance, yet inside you keep reliving the same mix of fear, shame, and lack? How many years have you asked for love while deep down holding the belief that you can be abandoned at any moment? The laws of reality creation are ruthless in one thing. They do not respond to the words you say out loud. They respond to what you emit consistently. If deep inside you live in the state of, I don't have enough, no matter how beautiful your visualizations are, the field reads that. If your decisions are rooted in fear, resentment, and old wounds, life will keep bringing situations that confirm this role. And here is the most painful diagnosis. You want to change the picture on the screen without changing the signal you're sending. You're waiting for a different movie while staying on the same frequency. Imagine a huge hall filled with screens, on each one a different version of your life. On one screen you are wealthy, on another free, on another healthy and full of energy, on another living where you've always dreamed, on another surrounded by people with whom you can be real, not convenient. All these versions exist as potentials, but only one screen is turned on, the one tuned to your current thoughts and feelings. As long as you're convinced that life is doing something to you, you don't even lift your gaze to see the other screens. As long as you believe reality is fixed, you don't reach for the remote control. And you're not to blame for this. No one taught you otherwise. School didn't explain that you're not just a body that needs to be fed and placed into a job. No one told you that your consciousness is a generator that forms a field around you 24/7. You were taught to survive in someone else's system, not to create your own. But at some point, knowledge becomes a choice. From the moment you hear these words, you can no longer honestly say, I didn't know I was participating in creating my reality. And if you've reached this moment, it means the most important shift has already begun. The shift from the role of someone to whom things just happen, to the role of someone who is ready to ask, what in me creates this life every day? And am I willing to change it at the level of laws, not random impulses? When I first heard the phrase, "You create your own reality," it irritated me. At that time, my life looked like a bad joke. I woke up with heaviness in my chest. My phone wasn't an alarm clock, it was a siren. Messages, debt reminders, tasks I didn't even want to open. Money disappeared faster than it appeared. Any unexpected call from the bank made my heart clench. I lived in a state of constant lack and shame. Shame that at my age, I was supposed to be in a completely different place. My body was an honest reflection of that life too. Chronic fatigue, sleep without recovery, tight shoulders, a racing pulse from any email marked urgent. I often said, I'm just unlucky with my health, with time, with people. Relationships were a separate mirror. I kept attracting the same scenarios again and again. I was used, ignored, kept close but never truly chosen. And every time I repeated, maybe that's just the kind of person I am, things simply don't work differently for me. I could spend hours telling a logical story about why my life turned out the way it did. A childhood without support, a country with limited opportunities, a market where everything is already taken, circumstances that are always stronger than me. I sounded convincing. You might have even nodded and said, yes, you really do have it hard. But behind all that logic hid something else, a sticky feeling of smallness. I felt tiny in front of my own life, trapped inside its mechanism, as if the world were a giant machine and I was just a bolt that ended up in the wrong place. My rock bottom was ordinary, not a catastrophe, not a tragedy, just a day in which everything collapsed into a single point. A rejection from a job I was counting on, a call reminding me of overdue payments, an argument where someone told me directly, you chose this life yourself, don't shift the blame. That evening, I sat in a dim room in front of a black laptop screen and felt emptiness. Not anger, not panic, but the sense that I no longer controlled anything at all. And then, by chance, a Joe Dispenza video appeared in my feed. I clicked on it not out of curiosity, but out of despair, when you no longer believe in anything, yet keep scrolling just to distract yourself. He spoke calmly about things that irritated and pulled me in at the same time, about how thoughts and feelings are an electromagnetic signal, about how we send something into the field every second, even when we're silent, about how the universe returns not our desires, but the state we live in day after day. At first, I resisted. It's easy to philosophize when your life is going well. Let him try living mine. But the more I listened, the more clearly I felt he was talking about me. When he described a person who wakes up every morning thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, acting the same way, and then wondering why tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday, I saw my life as if traced on paper. And one phrase hit especially hard. As long as you live in the state of yesterday, the field cannot give you the life of tomorrow. I paused the video. The room fell silent, and I realized I no longer could hide behind my explanations. If even part of this was true, then it meant that every day, with my state, I was signing a contract for the very reality that was destroying me. Admitting this was almost unbearable. It was easier to believe that forces stronger than me were in control. But that evening, the first shift happened. I stopped asking why the world treated me this way, and for the first time asked, what in me makes the world around me look exactly like this? I didn't yet know the terminology or the laws, but a decision appeared inside me. I was tired of living on autopilot, tired of reacting, tired of being the one things just happen to. I wanted to understand these laws not for the sake of pretty words, but to stop being a random spectator of my own life. When the emotions settled, only silence remained. I sat in front of the dark screen and felt my old justification dissolving. This just happened to me. If all of this was true, then I wasn't a random passerby. I was the source, and everything I saw around me wasn't a sentence. It was a reflection of the signal I was sending into the field every day. He explained it simply. A thought is an electric charge. A feeling is a magnetic one. Together, they form a frequency to which the field of possibilities responds. The universe doesn't hear occasional desires. It reads your consistent signal. If most of the time you live in fear, anxiety, resentment, and guilt, what can it return to you? Situations that trigger fear, people who poke the same wounds, events that confirm, yes, the world is exactly the way you think it is. I began dissecting my ordinary day. I wake up, and even before getting out of bed, I remember my debts. My mind paints a picture of failure. My body tightens. The first signal is sent. I live in a world of lack and powerlessness. Then the commute, people, irritation, internal commentary, another portion of the signal. Work, resentment, envy, the feeling of being unappreciated. I could carry the sense of being unappreciated all day and then be surprised in the evening when life once again showed me scenes where I didn't matter. And then I saw a pattern that made me genuinely cold inside. My consistent signal wasn't about freedom, abundance, or love. It was about fear, lack, and expecting a blow. And reality reflected it honestly. That was the moment when the main principle formed inside me, the one that I later encountered again and again. Reality is shaped not by your desires, but who you become day after day. You can write down goals endlessly, fill out planners, create vision boards, and hang them on your walls. But if deep inside you live as a person of lack, then that is the frequency your field is tuned to. And then you will unconsciously choose the kinds of decisions, connections, and circumstances in which lack will be confirmed again and again. It's like a radio receiver. Hundreds of stations are broadcasting at the same time. Somewhere soft music is playing, somewhere heavy. Some channels talk about crises and catastrophes every hour, while others are dedicated to growth, development, and possibility. But the speaker plays only one station, the one the dial is tuned to. Most people turn the dial toward, I want something better for 1 minute a day, and spend the rest of the time living on the frequency of, everything is pointless, nothing will work. And then they sincerely wonder, why am I not being heard? They truly aren't being heard because the field responds to the channel that is on most of the time. I realized one simple thing. If I want different results, it's useless to fight events. I need to change at the level of state. Not to ask, why did this happen to me, but instead, what inner state made this likely? This isn't about self-punishment. It's about reclaiming power. As long as reality seems like pure randomness, you are helpless. But if it is the consequence of your states, you suddenly have an entry point. I sat in silence and felt the axis inside me shift. The world stopped being an external enemy. It became a mirror. And there is no point in blaming a mirror. You can only use it to see what you're actually wearing. From that moment, simply believing in something better was no longer enough. I understood I would have to learn the laws. The law of attention, the law of state, the law of mismatch and emptiness, the law of repetition. Because talking about creating reality without understanding these principles is like trying to build a house while ignoring gravity. The first law, which hit me right between the eyes, was brutally simple. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where energy flows, your reality eventually grows. We treat attention carelessly. So what if I scroll the news? So what if I discuss another crisis? So what if I look at how others live? But every time you linger on something, you water it, like a gardener who decides daily what will grow in his garden. If you water weeds, you shouldn't be surprised when the whole plot becomes overgrown. I began to look closely at what filled my day. In the morning, a news feed where every headline is built on fear and outrage. Then conversations where we compete over whose life is worse. Then social media full of other people's lives that trigger envy, comparison, and the feeling of not being enough. By evening, my state was completely predictable: anxiety, irritation, powerlessness. And yet I kept saying I want a different life. But if I was honest, with my attention, I was building a reality where chaos, lack, and other people's scripts took center stage. So I made a simple but tough decision. I stopped giving my attention away for free. I began treating it like currency, the most valuable one. Time can be lost and earned again. Money can be spent and returned. But the attention you give throughout the day directly shapes your field. I created a morning and evening ritual, not motivational slogans shouted over panic, but an honest question to myself: what reality am I tuning into today? In the morning, before touching my phone, I spent at least 10 to 15 minutes seeing not the nightmare I was running from, but the life I was moving toward. Not as a fairy tale, but as a frequency choice. I set the state I wanted to live the day in. And every time I was pulled back into chaos, I gently but firmly returned my attention to what I wanted to grow, not to what was destroying me. That's how the first law began to work. I stopped being a person thrown around by every headline. I became the architect of my attention. The second law is tied to state. Reality follows your inner weather. We're used to thinking the opposite. When money appears, I'll feel calmer. When relationships improve, loneliness will go away. When my body stops hurting, lightness will come. But that is expecting a miracle from a world that first and foremost reads your signal. If inside you is a constant rain of anxiety and resentment, how long will external sunshine stay? I began noticing how automatically I chose the state of a victim even before the day began. The moment I woke up, I mentally replayed problems. My body responded with heaviness, and I lived the entire day as someone for whom everything is difficult again. Dispenza says, "You are not a thermometer that reflects the temperature of the world. You are a thermostat that can set it." This isn't about a forced smile or denying reality. It's about the right and ability to choose the baseline state from which you enter the day. I began treating it like training. In the morning, I asked myself, how do I choose to feel today, regardless of what happens outside? Calm, collected, self-respecting, with a sense of inner backbone. And when circumstances tried to knock me off balance, I reminded myself, I am not a thermometer. The world may make noise, but I am not obliged to adjust to every spike. Sometimes it worked poorly. Sometimes I slipped. Sometimes the entire day felt like a failure. But the goal wasn't perfection. The goal was to stay in the chosen state at least one time more than yesterday. And here, I want to ask you for something. If what you're hearing resonates inside you, if these laws touch something important, support this conversation. Subscribe to the channel so you don't lose this line of inner work. Like the video if you feel an internal shift, and write in the comments honestly, where do you drain your attention the most, and what state do you habitually choose in the morning? Not for the algorithm, for your own clarity. because from here, we're going even deeper, into the place where it's decided who exactly will enter the reality you're asking for. There is another law that breaks almost all good intentions. The old you cannot enter a new reality. We're used to thinking that it's enough to set a goal, write down a number, imagine a relationship, a home, freedom, and the universe will accept the order. But the question isn't what you want. The question is who is standing at that door. You can dream of a high income while remaining a person of lack, afraid of losing the little they have. You can ask for mature love while remaining someone who accepts crumbs and says nothing when hurt. You can visualize freedom while living as someone who doesn't take a step without external approval. This is the law of mismatch. A new reality does not accept the old version of you, not out of cruelty, but because the frequencies don't match. Imagine trying to walk through a narrow doorway with a huge backpack on your shoulders. Inside it are your stories. I'm always unlucky. I'm not made for big money. No one can truly choose me. It's safer to stay quiet. Inside it are also your habits. Agreeing when you want to refuse, postponing when you need to act, diminishing yourself when it's time to set boundaries. You stand at the door to another life, but you get stuck every time, not because the door is closed, but because you're not ready to take off the backpack. I asked myself an uncomfortable question. If the life I'm asking for appeared right now, could I hold it as the person I currently am? The honest answer was no. A higher income with my old mindset would only amplify anxiety. Mature relationships with my old patterns, I would sabotage myself. Freedom with my old discipline would turn into chaos. Then it became clear. Creating a new reality means growing into it, not waiting for it to adjust to your old habits. I began training a new identity not in fantasies, but in small actions. I asked myself, how does the person who already lives in the reality I'm moving toward behave? He doesn't avoid difficult conversations. He doesn't stay where he is being broken. He doesn't justify his exhaustion with, well, what can I do? He is attentive to himself and responsible for his steps. Every day I chose one small thing and did it the way this new person would. Sometimes it was refusing a familiar compromise, sometimes giving an honest answer, sometimes spending an hour on my work instead of endlessly scrolling the feed. The old me didn't retreat immediately, but step by step. And here another law comes into play, the law of emptiness. The new can enter only where there's space. We fear emptiness more than pain, so we cling to what has long been lifeless, to connections, activities, jobs that burn us out but give the illusion of stability, to relationships without warmth but with habit, to actions that lead nowhere but protect us from meeting ourselves. We fill our space to the brim and then wonder why nothing new appears. Where is it supposed to go? Into an overstuffed closet? I did what I had avoided for a long time. I began clearing space. First, literally, I went through my things and asked honestly, does this belong to my new life or does it keep me in the old one? Some things I sold, some I gave away, some I threw out. Then came the turn of contacts, people after whom I always felt worse, not because they were bad, but because our interaction revolved around pain and complaints. Then habits that quietly stole energy, endless scrolling, late nights, projects without soul. Each release triggered anxiety. Emptiness was frightening, but over time I saw where the heavy shadow of the past used to hang, free space appeared, and that is exactly where a new reality can enter. You cannot hold two lives at once, the one that pulls you forward and the one you're used to. At some point, you must choose what you make room for. And there is one more law, one everyone has heard of but almost no one respects, the law of repetition. The field responds not to a one-time effort, but to what you do again and again. We love living in bursts. We watch a motivational video, 2 days of uplift. We meditate for a week. Things feel lighter. We do a few exercises. Inspiration appears. And then we slip back into our old state and say, it doesn't work. But the truth is, it does work, just not the things you did once or twice. What works is what you've been practicing for years. If for 10 years you've been training anxiety, resentment, and constant expectation of a blow, is it fair to expect one meditation to erase that imprint? I saw it clearly. All my life, I had respected only one law, the law of my old habits. Every day, I reinforced them with the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same predictable choices. And reality, like an honest mirror, responded with stability exactly in that. So I made a decision. If I wanted a different life, I had to start respecting the new laws with the same persistence with which I had supported the old patterns. I set a task for myself, not a pretty one, but a brutally concrete one. For at least 30 days, live as a person who has accepted the new principles of reality creation. Not perfectly, not without setbacks, but every day, at least one step toward the new frequency. Every morning, choosing a state instead of automatically sinking into yesterday's heaviness. Every day, watching my attention and consciously returning it to what I wanted to grow. Every day, one small action from the new me, even if the old one whispered, "Come on, not today." Every week, decluttering my space, connections, and tasks that no longer matched the life I had chosen. Sometimes it felt like nothing was happening. The first weeks felt more like an internal war than a miracle. Old thoughts rose in waves. The body remembered familiar reactions. But I held on to one thing. My new standard was not perfect, but don't give up and don't roll back completely. And at some point, the world began to respond. At first, very subtly. Different people began entering my field, not those with whom we competed over whose life was worse, but those with whom we could talk about growth, not just survival. The first opportunities appeared, ones that resonated with my inner state. Not just any income, but work where my state was valued, not drained. I often think of one person when I start doubting the power of repetition. He was what people usually call broken by circumstances. Debts, illnesses, ruined relationships, the feeling that life had passed him by. His first reaction to the conversation about the laws of reality creation was the same as mine was once: resistance and anger. Don't tell me this is my fault. But at some point, he got tired of the victim role and chose an experiment. Not belief, not a pretty concept, an experiment lasting at least a year. He started with the smallest thing, the law of attention. He stopped feeding his life with news about disasters and endless conversations of hopelessness. Instead, every day, he spent time tuning his mind to what he wanted to create. Then he added the law of state. In the mornings, he no longer allowed himself to wake up as the defeated one. He chose a baseline feeling with which he entered the day. It was rarely joy, more often calm focus, self-respect, inner firmness. Then came the law of mismatch. He honestly admitted the old version of himself simply could not hold the life he prayed for. Every day, he chose one trait of his new self and expressed it in a small action. Next, the law of emptiness. He let go of things, people, and activities that had been pulling him down for years. It was painful. Sometimes it felt like stripping naked in the middle of winter. But it was in that emptiness that the first new opportunities began to appear. All of this could have remained just a beautiful story if not for one fact. He didn't do it for a week or a month. He did it systematically, day after day, setback after setback, rise after rise. Within a few months, his outer world changed. Chronic symptoms, the ones considered normal for his age, disappeared. A stable income appeared where there had only been holes. People entered his life who saw not a problem, but a partner. A year later, he was a different person. Not in the sense of external success by someone else's standards. He became whole by the standards of his own soul. He no longer said, "The world did this to me." He said, "I know what I emit, and I see how the field responds." This is how the law of repetition works. It doesn't reward a single burst of effort. It quietly but inevitably rewrites your destiny when you choose a new frequency day after day. Right now, you are in the reality you already created, even if yesterday you told yourself, "It just happened." Everything we're talking about is not theory. It's about your day today, about how you will wake up tomorrow, about which thoughts will rise first and which feeling you will allow yourself to hold. The laws of reality creation work even when you don't know them, but from the moment you hear them, you lose the honest right to say, "I have nothing to do with this." Look at yourself without embellishment. Which law have you been breaking most often?